Welcome back to the Coach Steve Show podcast. Hello, Zach. Welcome back to Bears Sadness. It did not take us that long to get back into it, but Zach's back. Bears Sadness. Bears lose to Washington Commanders, unfortunately. Zach, how we feeling removed from this game?
I'm kind of glad we are doing this a few days after the fact than say like an instant react at like 11:30 at night where I'm tired, cranky, can't believe I sat through that not only horribly played football game, but also I felt was a lower grade broadcast quality. I got to put it out there. I've said this out there, and I'm going to say it again. I don't care what people think. I don't like Amazon's quality of broadcast. Somehow they made Thursday Night Football to me worse, but I digress. And we got to sit there and listen to dampened crowd noise. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit try to plead that we'll have a better game next week. And we sat through the Bears squandering away what should have been a pretty viable win there.
Yeah, I have yet to watch Thursday Night Football live, really. I like Kirk Street, but the Amazon Prime thing is not working for people.
I don't know. I think I don't know. Some of the production stuff is not like Kirk and Al aren't the problem. I think it's more like how they produce like some of the items on it. Like, people love crowd noise, but why do you dampen crowd noise? If you have it. I feel like some of the technical stuff of it doesn't fully work out as well. Like, heck, Justin Fields' touchdown, they spent way too much time on the highlight. They weren't even ready for the snap when they got that on the offside. Oh, how's it now?
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
You want to try and restart that?
No, it's all good. Technical difficulties. This is raw and uncut. It doesn't. Guys,
Sure, why
listen.
not?
I can
Sure, why
edit
not?
audio. I can.
Basically, all you missed was me complaining about Thursday Night Football, some of the stuff on Amazon. Oh yeah, by the way, buffering.
Oh yeah,
Buffering instantly makes it worse. Like seriously, broadcast television, unless you have a massive failure, and I know because I work in broadcast TV, you don't have to deal with a mid-play stoppage because of your internet connection. And I have a pretty solid internet connection package, so trust me, I got a little frustrated a few times last night just on that alone. Speaking of the game, though, in particular, three possessions within the 5-yard line, no points. All different reasons these drives failed.
Yes. There was that one where they did like, was it 3 or 4 straight passes in a row? When you have David Montgomery down there, you have Herbert down there. Why not give one of them the ball? Oh, and speaking of, you have Justin Fields who can run.
That's true too.
Mm-hmm. So you have 3 options of running the football, and you choose to drop back pass under center and do 4 straight passes in a row.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And sure, with a better offense, I think people should say it would work. I think also again, this is one of those situations somewhat, and I say somewhat, that if you complete a pass for a TD, oh look, it's genius. No one ignores it. But I understand you got 4 downs. Diversify it. Your offensive line is bruiser, sure. The Commanders, they have a pretty imposing front 4, especially their defensive tackles in the middle. Jonathan Allen and Payne down there. I get it, but there was room to run last night when applicable, and you might as well diversify it a bit when you got Montgomery. You got Justin Fields, like you're saying, who really I think is showing more and more, because of the pressures. I mean, his athletic ability, he does more damage on the run. That is what he is, I think, making more of an impact on. He does have pretty passes here and there, but he's a runner right now. Let him fly if you want, because clearly Washington kept making the mistakes, as you heard on the broadcast. Kirk Herbstreit, I give him props for this. They kept bailing on and spying on him. So, if you don't get back to him, he's got plenty of room to run, including that 39-yard run that went down to the Commanders' 5-yard line at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that is one thing he does bring to the table, is able to escape the pocket and run. But man, like, it's a tale of 2 halves for the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields struggled at the beginning in the first half. He had some moments there, but in the 1st half they struggled, and in the second half he bounced back a little bit, played a little bit better. Um, he's one thing I'm going to say before we dive into like critiquing him. I don't think we're ever going to question toughness, and it goes back to the
No.
Clemson game where he gets speared in the back, can barely walk, and he goes out there and finishes the game. I don't think anybody will ever question his physicality, ever question his toughness, and that's a Matt Eberflus thing too of making that team tough. It's just it's been too inconsistent. Of they're going to play like the Minnesota game played. He had little moments in the first half, but it took till the second half for him and the offense to play better. Same thing here. First half was bad, then the second half they like, oh, let's get going again, and that's just a tale of two different halves. And then you have our defense, who played well. You held them to 6 points. It was another muffed punt that we witnessed again that caught like in the Giants game. That to me, that defense gave up 6 points. That muff punt gave up the other. So
Yeah.
the defense did its job against a bad Washington Commanders offense. You held Carson Wentz to 99 yards passing. Like you did your job essentially.
Sack him 3 times, get
Yes.
pressure consistently.
Isn't who's the offensive tackle for them that we had? Lennis Jr. What's his name?
You're talking Charles Leno.
Charles
right?
Leno. Was he still on the team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say they actually that was something on their social they did is they got his instant his kind of like reaction to the win. He kind of like screamed into the camera all excited, but no, he's over there,
But yeah.
of course former Chicago Bears starting tackle.
He was always on his knees at Chicago. For some reason, he'd go to block and always fall to his knees. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know why. So it's a sad thing to see your defense home to 6 points and you can't muster up a win or enough because as a defense, you hold a team to 6 points, you're going to win the game. That's just a thing. And your offense just cannot finish drives. And there was a lot going on. Justin Fields didn't play well. Receivers were dropping balls, which they've done all year. The offensive line has been very inconsistent. It's one of two things. It's either they're going to sell out on the run game and block very well in the run game, or they're going to just sell out on the pass game and struggle on the other side. And that was this game where it was just back and forth. They struggled on both sides, but that's just the Chicago Bears. And, again, we're all over the place on this podcast because a lot happens. I don't know who to blame anymore. We've talked about blaming everybody. And every game we blame somebody different. And we were talking beforehand. There's other podcasts and shows out there that are starting to keep shifting this blame. Mm-hmm. The first time I've heard this now is where they're just going to start blaming Ryan Poles, the new general manager, and they're blaming Matt Eberflus. I think it's too premature to start blaming those two for what's going on, especially Ryan Poles, but they're blaming Ryan Poles because he brought these guys in. He drafted some of these guys. He signed some of these guys. I don't think he signed these guys to be the answers. I think he signed these guys to just have a roster, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what's going on behind closed doors because after the game, Justin Fields said, I'm tired of getting told we're almost there. We're almost there. And that goes back to what you always talk about is his attitude when things go wrong. So things may start to turn ugly the more this continues because you're losing games that we all predicted they would win at the beginning of the year. Yeah. So a lot's going on right now.
I sympathize with him a lot in the sense that it probably takes a ton to be the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, as well as being pressured almost half your snaps every game. I have to sympathize with that because you can't mention any of this without that because of that impact. A quarterback has a lot to worry about if they can't trust their offensive line to steadily rely on giving them a pocket to pass in if they want to be in the pocket. If they want to develop in the pocket, which as much as there's been conversation about this isn't Eberflus and Poles quarterback, whatever. This is a second-year quarterback that they are wanting to see develop, and they want to see be, in my opinion, the franchise guy. This is supposed to be the start of that process. So, it's hard for him to go through these lumps, but Ryan Poles definitely, I think, is getting a lot more questions from people now for the process of helping not only him, but also just what was going on in the draft as well. Because I mean, sure, we have two young talents on the defensive side in Brisker and Gordon. Gordon had a better game this week. I'll give credit. Brisker's been consistently, I think, playing at a above average level to good all
Yep.
year for the most part.
Yep.
Sans a few run issues. But that does bring back the question of, okay, well, you had these guys picked up in the second round. If we knew the line was a problem last year, which it was, where were those draft picks there? Was this best available? That's where these people are starting to question that. Free agency, which I mean, they lost out on a few offensive line free agents that they wanted that were higher profile. One to Buffalo in particular, and that's where we're seeing a bunch of whose fault is it type of discussion, because we knew they stripped the roster to the bone, but I think people also wanted the other side, one of the other portion of this, and went, yeah, you stripped the roster, but we don't want our QB getting killed. We don't want our QB to be ran out the building and have his progression completely shot because all he knows is, flee from the scene of the crime at first contact.
Right.
That's where we're at, and we're now 6 games in, and I think that's just going to become a louder voice from our audience here, is that, hey, this kid's going to keep getting killed. All these anticipations for next year with the money, the cap space, the full draft stock, it better come to fruition and pay off, because otherwise we knew we were kind of iffy with this season, but no one wants to see like late season Justin Fields has a catastrophic injury that potentially affects his year 3 evaluation and possible next step.
Yeah. I understand when people are blaming Ryan Poles. It is 110%. I understand where they're coming from, but I also think like you and I think understood the assignment where we know what was about to happen this season. Now we still want to win. We still want to compete. I don't believe in tanking for a draft pick. These guys get paid millions of dollars. In my opinion, you show up and do your job no matter what it is. We all show up to our job making pennies on the dollar compared to what they all make. So they need to show up and do their job as well. I don't know. If this was year 4 and this is happening, or year 3, this was happening, I'd have my pitchfork ready, like on fire, and saying like, I am after Ryan Poles. But being so early, I'm like, I think he knew. I think he knows something we don't, is my hope. Or like you said, maybe he was holding out from the draft to get free agents and it just didn't work out. And that's kind of where he was leaning towards. And it didn't happen. But who could have, I mean, Tevin Jenkins is playing well, in my opinion. He's, I think, being their best lineman. I do think they put the eggs in Doug Kramer's basket, and he got hurt. I'm going to die on that hill because of how good he played at Illinois. He was a 5th, 6th-year guy. He would have been the answer at center right now. I firmly believe that.
I think that, yeah, they need something, because I would be honest. Last week we were talking about, or we've been talking about Lucas Patrick getting switched. Watching more and more. This game, I think, now makes me go, it doesn't matter, I think, because his blocking skill is also you can put him at center, but it's not going to me, help that much more. He has proven his pass blocking has been degrading all year through 6 weeks. And I think it just will be that much exasperated if he were to be put at center. Both of them interchangeable, I think, would suck now at that spot. And I'll hold that opinion moving forward.
The next person they're blaming more and more from Ryan Poles is Matt Eberflus, and I'm on here saying I'm still not against him. What they're blaming him for is, I think they're blaming him in the same time as blaming Getsy at calling plays, because the more this is going on, you are starting to hear even NFL guys, retired NFL guys, come out. I think it was Fitzpatrick that said, Justin Fields is not Tom Brady. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not so-and-so. He cannot stand in the pocket and do these things that these guys were doing. And I'm paraphrasing from what I heard. He even said, and other NFL guys, Richard Sherman on Thursday Night Football said this as well.
Yep.
You have to coach him differently than these guys. You had Aaron Rodgers who could stand in the pocket and throw a football when you were the quarterback coach for the Green Bay Packers. You don't even have to coach half the time. You could probably just do all the film stuff, and Aaron Rodgers is out there doing his thing.
True.
Justin Fields, you cannot force him to be a pocket passer the entire game.
Where have I heard that before?
I
Does
wonder
that
where
not
we've
sound
heard
familiar?
this. I wonder where we've heard this before.
I heard that in the post game, and I had like deja vu sitting there, like spaced out for a few seconds, and went, Jesus Christ, we have circled back to this conversation again. Next quarterback up, next conversation, and it doesn't feel like it's going to end because Mitch Trubisky apparently haunts us even when we don't want him to haunt us. Now, is it the play calling? Is it that they're not playing to his strengths? Which I'll argue, you know what? Yeah, it is. Because again, I'll state it. If Carson Wentz, if Aaron Rodgers, if Daniel Jones, all these QBs have ran more RPOs where they are getting design runs than Justin Fields, then I have a problem. Or Justin Fields isn't taking his running options, which then again I go, dude, it's RPO. You're going to outrun the guy on the edge. I mean, the fact that I even saw Carson Wentz run an RPO on Thursday, I went, really? He's been beaten up all his career. Like maybe 2017 Wentz would do this, but this doesn't feel like a 2022 Carson Wentz type of play anymore. And yet I still was going, Scott Turner is running plays that Luke Getsy should be thinking are regular, like first or second down options. And he was doing that up at the goal line. Like, why is that not a common play call? There's little RPO in this offense for Chicago. I think 2 times I counted RPO plays. And one of them was actually a really good pass play that pushed the entire flow of the offensive and defensive line to the side. It was a really good concept, but they're few and far between. It rarely is run. It's usually some bootlegs or dropbacks or shotguns.
Yeah, and that's been the beast with the NFL. And I think I've talked about, I think you and I might have talked about it way back when Mitch was there. The problem in the NFL is you get coaches that you're going to run what I want to run, and you're going to get molded into that because this is the NFL. This is what it takes to win. Does Justin Fields have to learn to throw a ball from the pocket? Absolutely. This has to be done. But like in college, they have a system, but they will also tweak things to that person's ability. They recruit for their offense, but they also can't deny recruiting guys that are talented. Well, here's an example. Mac Jones is not a mobile quarterback. He played at Alabama, who is now an up-tempo, spread it out, still run the ball, but throw the ball. They get Bryce Young the next year who can run. Guess what they did? They still had all those throwing plays, but guess what? Play action, RPO, get him outside the pocket. He can stand up and throw it, but he can do that. Because Nick Saban understands we've got to tweak it to what he can do. What did the Baltimore Ravens do with Lamar Jackson?
Pure run.
He cannot stand in the pocket and throw the ball consistently. He can at times, but when he does, it's a duck or he throws it 10 yards over their head. So what can he do that works? Let's run the football. Let's put a fullback in there. Let's have a lead blocker. Let's RPO him. Let's shift the pocket and let's run screens. Oh, let's run a little bit of option because that's what he can do. Because guess what? That's what he did in college at Louisville.
Yep.
What a weird concept that we're going to make Justin Fields this pocket quarterback where he's uncomfortable. His first instinct is to run now because he's got happy feet, which I'm going to get to the pass protection stuff soon. But now you're making this more difficult on himself. You're making him read a 4-thing progression, which did he do that at Ohio State? No, he didn't. Why not? I don't care if it's a 2-yard pass. If he completes a 2-yard pass on 1st and 10, I'm happy because you get him in a rhythm. I don't understand. Again, all those coaches are smarter than me. They are. They might know something I don't know.
Yeah, they're up in that spot for a reason, they'll say. So
right. But I start to question it because I'm like, oh, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. It's going to be done. You're forcing things on him that you don't need to. Move the pocket, get the run game going, go back to old school I formation. I heard this take yesterday and I loved it. Why can't we go 2 tight end set double tight and open up some run lane gaps? Why can't we do that, play action and throw it to Cole Kmet for a 4-yard gain? Why can't we put an extra lineman in and get that big set that you see every NFL team do and do that stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, wish I could tell you. You know, Again, you're saying a smarter man probably knows what he's doing. Is what's happening there, I guess. That conversation though, it is maddening that, I thought we were done with it, and now 2 years later we're back to the question of play to your QB's ability versus play your system. It's quite fascinating how that came back up once more, and it's probably gonna continue. I don't know. Luke Getsy, I thought against Minnesota had finally said, "Screw it, I'm opening the whole playbook. Let's go out guns blazing and run everything." And then sometimes I felt again like maybe it was just because after that interception, coordinator gets a little unconfident and then they switch back. Let's play it safe. Defense is winning the game for us right now. Sure, we're down 3, but we just need to get one good drive. I bet we can win this thing with like 13 points or something like that, which to me is very restricted. I don't know. It's restricted. Plus the line play again. I feel like he doesn't open the book the whole way. The closest he came was Minnesota, and that still took a quarter, basically almost 2 quarters to get that playbook all the way open.
Right.
Took a Darnell Mooney one-handed catch that's classified as a web gem for this season to open the playbook all the way. So yeah, we need to have stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I could tell you what Getsy's doing. But now you're going to be you're 2-4 now. You have 2 matchups where some people are instantly putting you as a 2-6 team. What do you got to lose? What do you have to lose? Open the damn thing up. Let it fly.
Right, because
take your chances, man.
Especially the next 3 games coming up: Patriots, Cowboys, Dolphins. That is a meat grinder of a stretch you have to go through, and then you got to play the Lions, who I don't care what anybody says.
That's a sleeper upset any week right now. So
right. And so, like, the next time you're looking at where you might be able to get a win is at the Falcons. That's the next one. But guess what? They started to look a little bit better. They're looking a little tough. So, like, it's just this could be like a conversation way, way later on. Could the Bears win a game this year the rest of the way? And a part of me is like, nope, they won't. They'll end up at 2 and whatever. And that's
oh man, I don't know about that. I do think that this is the typical Bears way, though. You have a defense that will win most weeks, at least. They'll win games like this, what Washington was. It's just that you saw such a catastrophic failure on the opposite side that what can you do? And then special teams fell apart as well. Velus Jones now, he's a liability. 2 of the last 3 weeks, muff punts that have killed games.
And he never returned a punt in college, which is mind-blowing. Then you put him in that situation in the NFL. Put Herbert back there for all I care. To return a kick. Like, this is where the Eberflus thing is starting to come up. Then today, I think it was today, they said, oh, he's not going to return punts anymore. And like, well, I could have told you that was coming.
Yeah. Could you imagine if they said, oh, no, we're sticking with him? Sure.
Are you positive?
That's a pretty high rate of failure with your time just coming back.
You might as well have nobody back there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where all this blame game's coming. And the muff punt thing we've seen enough of, where you're in a position, the defense has done its job. Like you said, typical Bears way. Back-breaking for the defense that does their job, and then the offense just cannot help them out. Yeah. You know what we saw it with Rex Grossman a couple times, but at least that defense was so elite that it didn't matter. You saw it with Jay Cutler's stuff at times, and then sometimes that was flip-flopped. But you really, really saw it after the Lovie Smith eras. And you really, really saw it with Matt Nagy eras, where it's just the defense does its job. I said in 2018, I said, if they don't win a lot of games right now, this defense is going to get old. Stuff's going to happen. And guess what's happened? That's why this defense is torn down to the bare bone.
Yeah.
Where they all got old and they're gone now.
Don't worry. We don't need Roquan Smith. We'll let him fly. He got blindsided by Carson Wentz. He's garbage. Man's completely garbage. He shouldn't be signed back on. Don't even bother. Let him walk.
I can't tell if you're being serious or sarcastic.
See, that's because it's hard, because that's another hot button topic. Because if you don't talk Justin Fields and everyone has knives out, the other thing people will draw their switchblades on is Roquan Smith. Every week that man is under the gun, and he still leads the league in tackles. He still is playing at the high level you expect. But people are worried about that $20 million a year mark. So, of course, they got to question, should we even keep him? And I'm telling you right now, he's going to go walk somewhere. He's going to have an all-star career. And we're going to all sit here and go, why are we hitting the reset button on that position if it's a cornerstone?
So I don't care if people know. I couldn't watch the game live, but I did have the ability to watch it later on. And I would look through Twitter, and one thing I saw was trade Roquan Smith over and over and over. And I was like, what happened? Oh, Pat McAfee shared the video. I said, oh, he got blindsided by Carson Wentz and depleted. And I said, this is why you want to trade him? Are you serious?
Analyze the rest of the game with that. That's what kills me. You know, it's one play that they didn't even score, by the way. You know, he had an angle where it was a chase angle after some good blocks, and Carson Wentz did something most QBs don't do, which is he actually threw a block. So, I don't know. Like, I guess call me an apologist for some people that want him gone, but I just think, like, you have a guy that, again, you know, is leading the Bears in tackles, leading the league in tackles, or at least he'll be tied with it by the end of this week, and you're saying trade him? You can't tell me you can't negotiate down to give him at least one of the highest paid numbers after this year and still retain him.
Listening to other sports shows, and we talked about one before we start recording, I'm not going to say who it was. This was brought up. Carson Wentz is like 6'4". He has to be 230 pounds.
That man's a mongoloid. you know?
So I'm not upset about it at all. Is he embarrassed? Are the other defensive guys giving him a hard time? You bet your ass they are.
Of course.
They are getting after him. But you are right. All I heard, that's why on Twitter I put that poll up. Should they trade him? And now I even heard podcast people say, you won't get value for him. And I said, why are you, like, it's all, like you said, we're going to get to one of these topics here in a second. It is either Justin Fields, it's either the O-line, it's the wide receivers, or it's Roquan Smith. Like, those are those.
Never mind the fact that Smith earlier in the game had a jailbreak sack that he perfectly timed the blitzing gap and got Carson Wentz down. I believe that was on a third down pass play as well. He also led the team in total tackles. He led in solo tackles, by the way. Next nearest was Nicholas Morrow, who I thought has been average this year. I mean, seriously, you're talking about rebuilding. It's rebuilding. You want to have some of those guys that I think should be staying. You don't let a Roquan Smith walk. If you give Eddie Jackson those chances the way that you have the last few years, and he's playing with stuff, why in the hell are you saying, "Yep, let him go, let him walk away"? You know, the NFL they didn't give him all pro nods. PFF always ranks him low for some reason. Let him walk. He's not valuable. What's wrong with you people? Why do we play this game every year? Like this guy that's on the fringe, we have to be like, oh yeah, let him go. You know, I'll give people pass on Allen Robinson because I'm wondering what the hell happened to Allen Robinson now. Because I was an Allen Robinson defender. But no, I'm going to defend Roquan Smith. You don't let him walk. Sign him to a highish, you're not going to pay him the best money. You're going to pay him, like, to me, top 5 linebackers in the NFL. Convince him, like, hey, you are a damn good RB or LB, but you have to realize, like, we are trying to rebuild. If you're on the same page, if he says no, then fine, let him walk. If for some reason the organization says that, but get him signed on. He doesn't want to leave Chicago. He's already said that. He likes the city. You don't let a talent like that walk away, you know?
But we will. And we will screw it up. They will hear fans say these things. They will start to do that. I guarantee you. I guarantee you they are listening to all this stuff. And I just don't understand. Roquan Smith is not Lance Briggs or Brian Urlacher, but by God, he is up there. If it was those three as linebackers, nobody would get a 5-yard run. That's how good he is. He's just quiet about it. He's a quiet, good linebacker. And we can't uphold him to where every single snap is going to be great. He is going to get blocked. Brian Urlacher got blocked. And Brian Urlacher is my favorite linebacker outside of Dick Butkus, but Brian Urlacher was our generation. He got blocked at times. There's probably times he dropped an interception. There's probably like all that stuff. Why do we have to hold Roquan Smith to this highest level possible and say, get rid of him? We don't need him. Who are we going to replace him with?
I mean, everyone will say the draft, but I'm sorry. We have bigger needs in the draft that I would rather address than having to hit the reset button on a middle linebacker.
All these people calling out Ryan Poles, and they're all of a sudden mad about his choices. Those are the same people that are going to trust him to replace this guy at linebacker then. So you got to pick which way you're going here. Do you actually trust him, or are you just finding something to be mad about? And like, yes, I'm mad about Justin Fields, but I'll be the first to tell you there's times he looks really good. There's times the O-line does break their back and he gets hit. There's times wide receivers do drop a good ball that he throws.
Yep.
But I'm also the first to tell you I'm the first to tell you who does bad, good things and good things. Even though I'm not high on Justin Fields, and sometimes I overlook, I look for the bad things because I want to be right. When he's good, I'm going to tell you he's good. When Roquan Smith is bad, I'm going to tell you he's bad. When he's good, we're going to tell you he's good. You can't let a guy like that disappear, where he should have been all pro, leading tackle. I don't get it. But that was the other thing.
I feel you. And it's going to continue to be a conversation all year. It's like we said the thing last show. Every week now, you're going to have it where people are going to micromanage the status of, should we keep Roquan Smith? Should we pay him that upper epsilon LB money? You know, and it's not going to stop unless this guy basically plays God tier and has mistake-free highlight football. You know, and again, maybe that sounds like an apologistic way of saying it, but I think some people are, at least that are fans of this, or even media personnel, I think they go overboard with this. It's pretty simple to me. Pay him as like a top 5 linebacker. You know, convince him that that's where he should be in the market, because I think that's where he is. I don't think you're going to get that the top pay at that position because, you know, he's not, I mean, some of the accolades. And I also think that it's a little harder to justify that with a rebuild. But if you convince him, hey, you're a top 5 guy, we'll give you top 5 money, we'll adjust the incentive issues that you were discussing in the media, and he doesn't say yes to that, then fine. Okay, you did all you could. But don't let the guy walk. Give him multiple years. Give him a top 5 pay at that spot because he deserves that. And I think fans should say that too and stop trying to instantly go, yep, get him out of here. Because honestly, right now, the only person I'm thinking that is, to me, trade bait with the Bears that I'm going, yeah, this one, at least we can get some picks and think about the future. And I hate saying it because it's weird with him setting record last year, is Robert Quinn. That's the only guy I think right now that should be on the trade block, that if you want someone to maybe take him for reinforcements for a playoff team or something, and, you know, you don't see him in the future of the Bears, which it sounds like he's kind of the only guy that's been shopped around by rumors for the most part, I'd say you do that. You know?
Yeah.
It's a different era of Bears football now. So.
Yeah. Which is sad because he's been, especially his breakout year last year and then this year just being down. That is sad.
Hot and cold. 6 games in and still has not been up to snuff as last season. And credit, that's probably because he has less pressure on him, he has more pressure on him from a protection standpoint, thanks to, you know, there's no Khalil Mack anymore. They stripped down the defensive line in many chunks. So yeah, he has 1 sack this season, 5 tackles through 6 games. You know, and I think if you advertise him as a rotational piece, you know, that you can send off to a playoff team, like a 1-year kind of deal, which I have to double check his contract, that's who you should be talking about with trades and things. Not Roquan Smith. You're going to get undervalue anyway because it's a 1-year deal. You're not going to get much, I think, because it's going to be, oh, well, he's leaving next year anyway. So if they're trying to get rid of him.
Yeah, no team's going to be like, okay, here's a wide receiver and this and a draft pick for Roquan Smith. No, because there's no guarantee he's going to re-sign with that team. And so, and again, now we're not going to get a lot for Quinn, but you might get another draft pick. Maybe you get something else out of it. Maybe you get a defensive player and a draft pick out of him. And it might be a 3rd, 4th round. Who knows? But it's a draft pick that we need to use. But but that is a topic of conversation people are now having with Robert Quinn. But they want to have a Roquan Smith first because they think they're going to get more for him. But they're thinking offense. They're thinking, let's trade him for DJ Moore and get him in. Okay, then you're going to see that defensive linebacking core just collapse. The plays he's making are going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the offense doesn't produce, it's going to go back to that.
Well, we already have many woes with the run game this year, and we did a much better job, but credit the Commanders have not been strong. Brian Robinson is only his second game back from that unfortunate gunshot incident that he had from a mugging back in the summer. So, he still was impactful. Same was Antonio Gibson having some moments too against the Bears. But, that being said, you still have teams that you play this year that I'm like, really, you want to trade away Roquan and, make that situation even worse? You're going to tell me that, say you trade him in the next few weeks. Like, okay, Patriots, fine. You aren't going to trade him by next week. Like, say by, Dallas, he's gone. Okay, yeah, sure. We're going to totally be fine against the Cowboys who, have Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, oh, sure, we'll be fine against, Miami Dolphins or Detroit Lions, who already have, sure, they got shut out last week and they're on a bye to recoup, but I ain't seeing that train slow down. The Jets, Breece Hall out there, who is starting to become a star. I can keep going down the list and being like, yeah, no, that's still going to be a liability. You're just exasperating that. And again, saying that you're banking on the draft is not a certainty. No. It's not a guarantee whatsoever. You still can have busts. Your GM can still, with his scouting department, suck at evaluating talent. So again, I stress this with a rebuild. Stick to your guns with guys that are young and can stick with you through a rebuild and into your prime years under your organization. Roquan's still in his mid-20s. Don't throw that away.
Right. But we'll screw it up. And I just don't see, we'll say it one last time. We don't see where fans and certain shows are like asphyxiated on that at all. I don't understand it. To move on and slowly get to the end because there's so much to complain about, I am going to read off this nice little tweet I saw about the first 17 games of Mitch Trubisky versus Justin Fields.
Oh, yes.
Mitch's first 17 games, he was 62.9 completion percentage, 3,454 yards, 18 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Fields is 58.1 completion percentage, 2,549 yards, 10 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. And I saw this, and now people are who did Mitch have to throw to? Who was Mitch's offensive line? What was pressure per whatever? And I get it. Justin Fields is getting pressured more often than not. I'd have to watch every bit of film. I can't believe that every single part of his pressures are 110% the O-line, because I don't think people understand this. When O-line pass protect, they want to protect inside out. They want to make sure they don't come through the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive linemen are taught to see movement in the backfield when they get extension on the O-line. Some teach them to look at their feet. Some teach them to look at like waist and see if they can't see where he is. When a quarterback starts to move, that D lineman now is going to move where that guy is. The O-linemen are trying to keep him inside out. They don't know where Fields is. And sometimes when the quarterback moves, the pocket gets broken down because the quarterback has now moved and has shifted somewhere where the O-line doesn't think he's going to be. Because when it's a pure pocket, you're thinking of a V. If they start bringing certain pressures, it becomes a slide. They think he might move that way, but if he moves opposite, now they're moving opposite. I have no proof of this. I'd have to go back and watch all of these games play by play by play, and I just don't have the time. If people want to pay me like $85,000 a year to do this, I will gladly sit down and look that up.
Right.
But they look at it from a pure pressure standpoint. And the O-line is not good. We all know they're not good. But I'm sick and tired, and I've said this every single time we've done this. I am sick and tired of every other week. Now when I listen to these shows, people are finding ways to defend Justin Fields 110% that it's not his fault. Even though they said he had a bad first half, they will immediately go to the second half and say he did everything he could to have them win that game. but this is happening and this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
When are they going to stop and finally just start to say it's everything? And I'm tired of tweeting that to people. It's everybody. It is the entire offense. It's the play caller. It's the O-line. It's the quarterback. The only people I'm not blaming are Herbert Montgomery. Those are the only ones I can't sit there and say anything about.
They're doing everything they can. I mean, they're doing everything they can to keep these games close and at least keep the offense somewhat on track. You know, that's really what's, you know, again, it's in their bread and butter. It's really what they do best, but it's unfortunate because that's not what you want for an evaluation of your supposed future quarterback, you know, that you want. You don't want to have questions, but because you want to see that passing offense take off, but it's just not to be right now. You know, those are your two best guys. I'll tell you one thing that, again, I reiterate the pressure aspect of Justin Fields here. And I'm just behind the scenes while we're talking. I've been bringing up stats like sack stats. So last year in 12 games, Fields was sacked 36 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's been half that, and he's already been 23. So it just shows you how much has been again stripped down. Not much of focus on that line whatsoever, or wasn't brought in. But the hits he's going to take, I mean, dude, I think they're going to pass 45 plus sacks by the end of the year.
Right.
Maybe even up to 50. And that's scary to even consider. Because last year's line, you know, we talked about how much he was scrambling and running for his life in his starts. You know, that game against Cleveland, that still haunts me for how often that was like paper thin protection. And here we are, 23 sacks.
Right.
At this point in the season. I actually need to look up because I know David Carr, I believe, has the single season QB sack record. So I need to see that here. Record for most times sacked. Because I feel like we can approach that with the extra game. I think it's gonna be historically bad. Well, maybe not that. 76 in one season. That was through a 16-game schedule. So that would need to be accelerated even more so. Still is really damning for anything that you want to talk about in that regard. Offensive line, you know, GM, focus on roster.
Yes, but
you name it.
Like we said earlier, when you have a struggling offensive line and a quarterback with happy feet, where he is a first now reaction is going to be to take off and go and do those things, you have to figure out a way to help them out as an offensive coordinator. That is your job. Does that mean you keep a running back in to block? Yes. Does it mean you need to start running the football more and getting exotic formations with two tight ends, tight end fullback, power T look? I don't care. Absolutely. That is your job to figure that out, to help take the pressure off of them. And it sucks. It sucks that the O-line's not good. It sucks for Tevin Jenkins, who's playing pretty well. He's like the only consistent O-lineman we have.
Who got pulled, by the way,
during
the Commanders game. I don't understand what their deal is with him. Because they're even statistically, if you're looking at the analytics of how he plays, he is arguably been their best overall lineman.
He got pulled over another guy's mistake. I can't remember who did it, but I remember them talking about he gets pulled. Why? I don't understand their hate for him at all.
I don't know. I get it. Again, a guy that's not yours. But I would say tense. I would say it was a tense offseason between new regime and Tevin Jenkins. You can't sugarcoat it. You know, they're talking about trading him. They're getting on him for, you know, his practice capabilities, you know, and how much he brings effort in those. But right now he's your best guy, like overall. Right. I don't know. Maybe it's part of this first year. I'm not saying it's boiling down to like an Urban Meyer situation, but like that's a weird crack to have and like something to be, for some reason, extra focused and like loose, like tight leash on is your best overall playing offensive lineman.
Right. But I'm going to show this clip because where I get frustrated is when there are plays to be had where you see the offensive line breakdown and these people put this on Twitter. Again, I'm really sorry to people if I sound like I know everything. I don't. I really
Yeah.
don't. I welcome conversation. I welcome to look at the same clip as somebody and they say, and prove me wrong on that clip. Cause I'll sit there and say, you know what? I just learned something. You just taught me something and I'm going to take that. But when people see, I saw this clip and they said, oh, the pocket broke down. It was where Justin Fields threw it off the helmet. Like, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
People
that
watching,
I
like,
agree.
I'm showing the end zone view. Like, I'm going to go really slow.
Hmm.
This is a pocket to me. Like, it's a pocket. It's a pocket. It's a pocket. Yeah. Are they getting driven back a little bit? Pass protection is where you somewhat give up a little bit of ground. Pocket, and then he throws it off the helmet of the defender right there.
Get that ball in the air.
You can see up top where Komet is going to break. Right now, he should already be in a windup because I understand why he doesn't throw it at first. There's this middle linebacker here. He's not going to throw it yet. He's already seeing that. He's not
Yeah.
going to throw, but then he leaves. So when he leaves, he's staring at Komet, right? I'm not seeing that. It looks like he's
No,
staring
that
right at
that's
him.
his read. He's looking
And
right at him.
wide open. There is nothing there. And I'm like, okay, he throws off the helmet, and then all the shit breaks loose. People said, look, he's getting pushed back right into his face. And I watch it from this angle. Yeah, he's getting pushed back, but there's this space in between. This is
Mhm.
a pure pocket
I
that
would
you
say
want.
stop it right as he releases. Because look at that. That you still have a yard, almost 2 yard. You have at least a yard and a half separation between Patrick and Mustafa when you release that ball.
Yes. And then I saw where people are like, well, look up here, throw it up here. Well, if that's not part of the read, he ain't going to throw it there.
It's like the last play of the game where everyone says Montgomery was open, and I agree. Like, guys, that is probably the extreme last resort if you somehow have like protection at that point to throw it.
Yes.
He wasn't going to look over there. It wasn't going to happen. That read right there was the right read, but again, why is that ball not up in the air? You know, that should be something you should execute on. You know,
Right.
I disagree with anyone that thought that was the line's issue, and the line should get a lot of crap, but not that play. No, that needs to be. You need to give that thing a slight arc, a little bit of arc, and let your big body tight end come down with that bad boy.
And then here's another one real quick that I forgot. This is where our pocket breaks down. These two receivers up top, they're in this double tight. These two receivers, they only send two out on a route. This is the only time. They keep so many in to protect for him, and it does break down. He does a play action. Our left tackle guard gets beat.
Seeing you, Patrick. I see you there.
And then, but our running back picks him up, and then he takes off. This is football for me. Right now, the pocket's broken down right there. Right now, he kind of has a pocket, but he sees this guy coming inside. When he runs up, the pocket has now moved, and now this becomes the pocket where he should step up and throw. Now, he could throw it here. They're starting to run after him. He could throw it here. But this is what I'm talking about. Justin Fields just wants to take off. If he steps up right there, throws it here, just throws it away. The pocket can move. When it breaks down like that, it can move and readjust itself. And you can see it from this angle too. Like if he just steps up right here, he's getting blocked. He's helping block here. It's moved. It was here. Now it's here. But he wants to take off and run. And so this is my other problem.
Yeah,
I understand it. I get it. The left guard should never get Patrick. Just terrible. Just terrible. But that's how you help out the O-line. Keep that running back in there. He hits him one way. The lineman didn't give up, came back to help. Now the pocket shifts.
Right. The only one I could see anyone getting on was maybe like, well, if he bails up a little, Braxton Jones's protection breaks down because he moved up. But credit, he's running, and of course because of that spin move you see, the defensive end is going to start running at the quarterback because he sees him. He's running out of the pocket. But if you shift like you're talking and you let Jones still do his job, you let him stay in front of his blocker. I do agree in that sense. Like there's a pocket there. It's every game with Fields. I feel like you can make the lineman argument, but you can also still when he gets chances to throw, there are miscues. It's so much in the weeds with this, and I don't like I don't like this right now that we are in the weeds and we're going to be doing this whole song and dance all season. But You
Yeah,
know,
and that that
that's
that
where we're at.
pocket thing to me is like I did that on purpose. If anybody watches, try to prove somebody wrong because the title of that clip to people was, "How can you not protect people with like 7?" And I agree with it, but you also notice the running backs in there to block. Like I just want people to know that he doesn't always have to take off. He always
Mhm.
doesn't have to, but like he's athletic, he wants to, he's used to it, he is going to take off. And I just want it to be shown that sometimes it is the line, sometimes it's the wide receivers, and sometimes it's him. That's kind of what I'm trying to get to with
Oh yeah.
those things where it's everybody. And this is just where we're at. Every game, we're going to have this is going to be a repetitive thing all year. We're going to have the same conversations over and over unless trades get happened and this and that. But yeah, it's not always a lineman. Sometimes it's him. It's everybody.
Yeah.
And that's where we
Pretty
are.
much. And I don't know what to say beyond that. I don't want to keep doing beating a dead horse argument every week, but you know, I think that everyone just wants to see progression, so we can change that conversation a little bit.
Right.
You know, but I don't know if that's going to happen right now. And also, I mean, if you're talking trades, like the main thing the Bears really need to trade for, I don't think it's receiver per se. I really do think you would, for some reason, have to find a way to trade a lineman, but that to me, I think rarely happens
Hmm.
for a star caliber lineman because those are not a dime a dozen. That's an off-season free agency move or draft, which again, that's what everyone's talking about. You know, keep Fields healthy, and next year's the year. We all knew this. We knew 2022 wasn't going to be that season, but you know, here we are
Yep.
once more.
I just didn't know. We all knew it wasn't the year, but I don't think we all expected these type of things to like. I think we did, but I don't think we expected this type of level of disappointment to losing to the Giants. Then you lose to Washington. You gave us the Bears did a Bears thing against the Vikings. They gave us hope at the end. And they're like, oh, there's
Yeah.
hope.
Well, 3 game losing streak in heartbreaking fashion each week doesn't help in matters either. You know,
No,
and they're young and they're basically young team problems or mental capacity and competency type of issues. You
yes,
know, it's been that way for this last stretch. I don't think October is going to be much more friendlier as well. Like I said, you're going to end the month on a pretty ugly stretch going into November.
yes,
You got to tough it out and find ways to win scrappily. New England, I think you have a chance, but it really depends on just how much the defense comes to play and if Justin Fields can somehow outgun Bill Belichick's defensive concepts at scheming towards young and you know I would say not as experienced quarterbacks.
yes. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. I do think that this bye week type thing is coming at a perfect time where they can sit back and evaluate what's going on, and hopefully they can evaluate the offense. And not saying that what we all suggest is the right move, but I do think we have to see something different. Does that have to be catastrophic? No, but we need to start seeing different things. We don't even necessarily need to see a trade right now. I don't think if you kept it,
No,
you kept it.
they're sellers if they are, but it's very minimal what you're selling.
Right.
You don't have much to sell. And to me, you don't sell one of those pieces that's even supposedly on that minds of people. So,
Right.
yeah.
But it comes at a perfect time um, to before we play the Patriots. Is that a Monday night game?
That is actually it's a good point. Yes, it is, I believe, because we do play back to back prime times that I am aware of. Yeah, that is a Monday night contest on ESPN in New England.
Oh boy, prime
So a little
time.
rowdy. And Mac Jones also might be back too, from what it looks like. It seems like he might be back this week, coming up. But if he's not, then it sounds like he's definitely going to be back for Chicago. From his progression, it sounds like.
Great, good.
Which I don't know if that's a bad thing. Maybe I don't know. He was okay before he got knocked out. Maybe Zappy's the problem, the guy we should be worrying about. What do I know? Um, who knows? Maybe we'll have N'Keal Harry by then. That's
Yes,
good, right? You know, we'll
yeah,
have him. You
good,
know,
good. Maybe Alex Leatherwood will play too. while we're at it.
Yeah, maybe. Why not? Anything's on the table. Why not? Throw him in. Give him a shot. I don't care.
You're going to start seeing practice squad players brought up. Oh, you got a pulse? Go play. And that's what's about to happen.
It's like the Russian army. You got
Yes.
cannon fodder, anything. We'll throw anything at the problem right now.
Yes. But it did come at a perfect time to just sit back and go, what the hell can we do to try to just get through the season? Because you're about to play the Patriots with a great defensive-minded coach, and then the Cowboys, who have one of the best NFL defenses there is this year. Like, and Dak Prescott could be back at that moment. They haven't played him yet because they're winning. Who knows if they even put him into that game? I doubt it. But he could be back. No clue. It's not a fun time, but all right, I think that's enough airing of grievances. I think we just aired enough.
It's about enough, you know. I think it's all we got. This isn't Festivus, but I mean, it could be like a precursor.
I mean, that's what we should call it, the Bear Festivus moment, and airing grievances.
Right? Right.
Every day after the Bears game is Festivus time. Airing of grievances.
I lost my train of thought.
But yeah, frustration with the Bears. They get a little bye week. We all get a little break from this mental state they put us in. But yeah, that will wrap this up. We'll be back later on for a Patriots preview for Monday Night Football, prime time for people to watch the Bears firsthand if they don't. It will not be Thursday night caliber. At least it's on ESPN, where it's not as bad.
Yeah, they do a great job. I have no problems with Monday Night Football. I mean, the only thing you can get upset for is if you don't like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman now.
It's fine. And again, we don't hate the people. I don't hate anybody on Thursday Night Football. It's just because it's on Amazon Prime. That's the issue.
Right. I just don't like that it's the risk for buffering video, which happens. It does happen every game. And just that, I don't know, some of the technical stuff, like I said, they like muddle the crowd noise. Like they don't let it fully blast. They like put it half volume.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me, but
yeah,
I like the announcers. I like the halftime people. I like all of that. It all works. They got to figure out something. Take it off Amazon Prime and
Ryan Fitzpatrick's on post game.
I love it. It gives you a nice little quarterback breakdown, and as long as it's not Ryan Clark, I am good with it. As long as it's not
Final Equip. Did you see? Have you seen any ads for their talk show nighttime talk show-esque version of an NFL show called The Pile On?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched or seen anything. I just heard it.
The trailer made me very much want to turn the television off for a second because it wasn't good. It was bad comedy. It did not make me want to watch a comedy talk show about the NFL.
If it's anything like The Shop that LeBron has on HBO, I'm good. I don't need to watch.
It's probably worse. I guarantee it's probably worse than The Shop.
I'll just stick to watching the Pat McAfee show. Thank you very much.
You go. Do that.
I'll stick to watching that. I'm sure. But check out Zach's other podcast, Inside the Walls, USFL podcast, 4th and 4 coming out on Sundays. Go check all that out. We'll have some time off before the Patriots preview to soak this all in and see what happens with the Bears. More new, any type of news coming out,
and eval the Pats too while we're at it.
Yeah, we can watch the Pats and see. I'll get on my all 2022 and break them down if I have time. We'll see. Who knows? Probably not, but I'll try. But anyway, that wraps up this. Check all that stuff out. Thanks guys for watching and or listening, and we'll see you guys next time.